That's it, we're live?
I think we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Israel Q&A hosted by me, Guy. Armin has lent me his channel for a bit. I'm also going to go live with Armin in hopefully 2 hours. So we're not going to go the full 2 hours today. Maybe like an hour and a half, an hour 40, something along those lines. We'll see exactly how things shake out. Camera's a bit low. Okay, good. So how's everyone doing? Okay, I'll take that silent as great. We're doing fantastic. All right. So I have a couple of topics that I have planned for today, and we'll be using the chat as usual. Put ones in if you want to add a new topic. Put twos if you want to respond to anything I'll say. So I'll start with a couple of topics. And add whatever you want. Is anyone okay to moderate, just in terms of the ones and the twos? I don't expect there to be a lot of moderation, but it would help me with the with having to split the attention. Sketch, I see, or monkey, or however you want to be called now. If you want to come on, if you have time, I'd love for you to be on. If not, understandable. Okay, well, we'll start and then we'll see how it goes. So a couple of interesting updates on the Israeli front over the last few week or so. So first of all, obviously we have the new deal with Lebanon. The new deal with Lebanon is great. The new deal with Lebanon is fantastic from Israel's perspective. The new deal with Lebanon essentially says Lebanon, the official Lebanon, allows Israel to stay exactly where it is in southern Lebanon. Oh, hey, Danny's here. And the government of Lebanon agrees formally that Hezbollah should not have any weapons, and Hezbollah should disarm completely, and Israel is permitted and Israel can stay in Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed, as an agreement between Israel and Lebanon. And this does a couple of things. This is an agreement that's good for Israel that the European Union has approved of. Like, they were happy with the agreement. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about just how universally good this is. The only party that this is not good for is Iran, or I mean the Islamic Republic, the current regime that is occupying Iran, and as a result, also Hezbollah and so on. But all the people who hate this are the people that we want hating this. This is an acknowledgement by the by the Lebanese government, both the Christians and the Sunnis, of Israel as a sovereign country that has a right to exist and is a first step towards peace. It also completely derails Iran's the regime's attempts to tie Lebanon into the MOU. And so in all of those senses, it's good. The Lebanese government is also committed to the disarmament of Hezbollah. Now, it's not the first time it's committed to disarming Hezbollah, but now it has U.S. backing. So that's really good. So this is the first topic. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say or ask or clarify? Yes, Gary. Feel free to
Wait,
open up your mic.
Before we move on, can I point out that you're not recording if you wanted to be doing that, and B,
I mean, we are live on YouTube.
Okay, and B, if you want to download the recording from 2 weeks ago, then your last chance is like it gets deleted in an hour or so.
Okay. I it's fine. I don't. Thank you though. Dan, do you want to moderate?
Sure. We can do the 1s and 2s system from the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
Sessions.
Gary will go, and then after that, we'll switch to that system. So Gary, go ahead. You're muted. No, you're still muted. You're muted on the platform. You need to press the mic icon. Yeah, Danny's is. Okay, there you go. Now I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello. So,
very
by
good.
the way, I've never seen you before, so welcome to the group.
Yeah, thanks so much. A question, has there been an official response from Pakistan and Saudi Arabia regarding this, the trilateral agreement in Lebanon?
That's a good question. I haven't seen something official. I don't.
Nor have I. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. And I think Pakistan is obviously not going to like it, but also they don't want. So both Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are in a pickle right now because Pakistan wants to be the core. Like this is them losing leverage and their world losing power because part of the agreement that they put together with the regime is that that Lebanon is related to whatever is happening in Iran, and so they can't be happy with this. Saudi Arabia is also unhappy with this in an interesting direction, from a very different direction. So, and I think that's why they're not saying anything because, like, they can't. They're not for it for reasons I'll explain shortly, but they also can't come out against this because then it's like, wait, are you not happy for your Arab brethren in Lebanon? Aren't you supposed to be like leading the Lebanese people, the Arab people, in whatever is the good direction? Now, this is clearly the good direction for the Sunnis in Lebanon, and they're not. So, Kat is saying in the chat, not Arab. I agree that they're not Arab. The Lebanese aren't Arab, but the perception that that Saudi Arabia is trying to create is pan-Arabism that also includes Lebanon. Now, the Lebanese people, especially the Christians, are starting to disentangle from their alleged Arab identity, but that's from Saudi's perspective, that's the impression that they want to create. However, they have previously in this war derailed agreements between Israel and the Lebanese government because the president told them, "Listen, we're not going to normalize relations with Israel before you do," and so that gave Saudi Arabia the keys to control Arab normalization for the remaining countries, for countries that haven't done so yet. And this is in effect Lebanon becoming its own thing. Now, it's also true that Saudi Arabia hates Hezbollah and would be very happy for Hezbollah to die out, but they want more control over the process. So this is Lebanon becoming too big for what is for what Saudi Arabia would be happy with. Saudi Arabia would like to be the hegemon in the region. This is Lebanon taking its own steps. So Muhammad in the chat asking, where's Armin? So this is an Israel Q&A. Armin's not here right now, but Armin, I will also have a conversation with Armin in a couple hours. So Armin will be here in less than 2 hours. Yeah, so Gary, does that answer your question? I mean, I haven't said anything. I think that's why.
Yeah, I think so. And just one other piece of information, as you may be aware, in Pakistan, there's a lot of public sentiment against any deal between Iran and the U.S. and Iran and Israel. They're very much, the street is very much supportive of Iran. And the Pakistani military has been taking steps now to if just in case they have to change the government. There's been a very, very significant backlash since Pakistan took the initiative to help broker this deal. And that's why I was asking the question. I have not heard public sentiment, credible reports of public sentiment in the kingdom. So just was wondering, and thank you for taking the time to provide that answer.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of Pakistan, I don't think that would be the reason, because if that was the reason, they also would not have done the MOU, right? The public there also hates any agreement between the US and the regime. And so I think it's more so about them losing leverage more than anything else.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for Saudi Arabia, the street, that's actually a good question. I think it's ambivalent from the little I've been able to see, but I don't have a lot of confidence in this. Yeah. Okay. Good. So
Thank you.
Thank you. So Danny?
Yeah, Kat is next.
Great.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe I got it wrong, but from my understanding, I'm kind of surprised to hear that, so maybe like enlighten me, because 2 points. One, I know that Saudi Arabia does not like see others as Arab. They can, I think they're going more on the Muslim side, not on the Arab side. Like they are the original Arabs. They are not sharing this, especially with others who are very much not Arabs. But maybe I got it wrong. And the second point that you said about them not wanting Lebanon to be their own country, I really don't see that. So maybe like I'm missing something. I know that they would not want that because they kind of like did and already are doing and in the middle of becoming like a partner with Iran. Something that happened before, but they're planning on it being stronger. And the fact that if Iran loses its leverage on Israel, Iran loses leverage. Therefore, they are losing leverage, you know? And so that would be more of my understanding of why they wouldn't like it. But and about the other point, I saw only very angry responses from Iran, and from what I see on like not on official like places, but on channels and people from the Arab world responding to it, most of them are happy.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying like, "Oh, Hezbollah will learn." They're using all kinds of very colorful languages, and they hate Israel, but they also, I think, they're very happy to see Hezbollah. And by the way, yesterday, the videos that I saw from the blowing up the big headquarters of them underneath Marja Azum, it was like I saw this and I said to myself, this is Hezbollah on fire. Like, it was glorious. I don't know how to tell you this. Like, woo, they're on fire in front of my eyes. Like, and they were mad. They were really mad. You saw some responses from Naim Qassem, like, this is they're breaking the ceasefire. What ceasefire, you moron?
Hi guys, I'm back.
Hi,
Hey,
Pedro.
Pedro.
Hey.
So we're please turn off your mic, and if you want to say something, put a 1 or 2 in the chat. Okay, because this is
I'm sorry for that.
no, it's good.
I
It's
apologize
good to have
for
you
that.
back.
No worries. Don't apologize. Just put ones or twos in chat when you want to speak.
Okay. All right. So, Kat, a couple of things in response to that. First of all, yes, Saudi Arabia sees itself as like prime Arab, and everything else that's Arab is like a copy. So Palestinians are also sort of Arab, but not quite. But that's sort of the point. The point is we want to take the entire Arab recognized world And because we're like prime Arabs, we're the real Arabs. We should lead that. And so they don't see, you're correct that they don't see Lebanese as quite Arab. They're a bit Arab. They're like mixed, but that's part of it. And as for the other point of why Saudi Arabia would be unhappy, so I didn't quite get what the point you were making is, and feel free to clarify after I respond. But the thing is, there were a lot of reports. I don't know if you've seen them of like Saudi Arabia coordinating with the Lebanese government about what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And essentially it was about no, you Saudi Arabia have to lead, and like in terms of normalization with Israel, and this is a break from that. They're using Arab U.S. sponsorship to not to take cards away from Saudi Arabia, because now if now Saudi normalization is not like once Lebanese normalization does not hinge upon Saudi normalization, then Saudi has less cards to play, because up until this point it was like, well, you normalize with us and you can normalize with the entire Arab world, and now the Arab world is splintering and we're just normalizing with different countries, and so Saudi Arabia normalizing with Saudi Arabia is just normalizing with Saudi Arabia. Couple things before we move on. So Arpad is saying, guys, also live on YouTube, go show him support at his name. So that is true. And here is my, I'm going to put it in the chat, my, the link to my channel. So the same stream you're seeing now on Armin's channel, presumably most of you are on Armin's channel, is also live on mine. And I would be very happy if you subscribe and go watch me there also, because for me to get monetized, I'll need a certain number of watch hours. So yeah, okay. So Danny, by the way, Kat, do you want to respond to that before we move on?
I'm not sure I understood. Maybe I need to do more research. I did not know that they were like actually involved in Lebanon in this matter, but I'll check more about it. I didn't know. But also, I think we should be aware, and I think we are, but just to make it clear, Lebanon is not becoming its own thing that fast. Like, it's going to be very hard. First of all, because of Hezbollah, and second of all, because of the Lebanese, sadly. They're not the most like consistent and like brave people so far. So like this is the first time, and one important point, this is the first time the Lebanese government has officially like Akira, or how do you say it? Like
recognized
Israel existence. Like we never signed anything with them, which is
right.
Big
I mentioned that at the beginning.
Oh, okay. So I missed it.
Okay, good. And by the way, Kurt, if you want to ask I saw the question in the chat, but please put it as a 1, so we can get to it in an orderly fashion.
Okay. Next to respond on the topic is Jose.
So how does the general population of Israel feel about this deal? Because I know there's been some tension between the United States and Israel, and that to me is something that needs to be said.
Okay, so that's a good question. Jose, can you? Okay, thank you. So that's a good question. Generally, I see like 90% approval of the deal, as the current deal, especially considering the situation that was far worse before the deal. And generally, the way people look at it is, thank God for Rubio for curbing JD Vance's attempts at selling us out. Now, I have I have a more nuanced perspective. I won't get into it now. Maybe a bit later, or maybe when I talk with Armin. But that's generally the sentiment. This was a Rubio play to make the best out of a bad situation, and especially after meeting with the Persian Gulf Arab states, and like he's making the moves to ensure that Israel's other interests in the area are not being sold out by the MOU with Iran. And I mean, people are really happy with the deal. Almost everyone. The only person who isn't that I've seen is Ben Gvir. That's literally the only one. And that's because his brand is being, I'm super hawkish. I'm a hawk over whatever you want to do. I'm for continued fighting constantly. But he was literally the only one. Smotrich was also for the deal because it's a really good deal. And if it doesn't, the best part about the deal is this is a pilot. We're letting the Lebanese government take care of Hezbollah if they can. And if they can't, as part of the deal, we'll go back to fighting. And we're still there. We're still overcoming. As you just saw, the huge explosion of the tunnel base, huge thing that they built. We're still working. We're not advancing, but that's fine. It also gives us time to develop our anti-drone technology. There should be like laser-based technology that's deployed in September, and so we're in no rush in this, and whatever the Lebanese government can do, we welcome, and whatever we can do to advance peace with Lebanon, we welcome, because this is not like the other Arab countries. A lot of people in Lebanon. So there's a fun Reddit channel called The Forbidden Bromance. It's between Israel and Lebanon. It's like Lebanese people, a lot of them, especially Christians, and Druze, secretly really want to visit Tel Aviv. And now it's less secretly. You can watch some. There's a whole bunch of segments on Lebanese TV that now people are openly of that sentiment.
Okay, I think I don't have any more twos on this topic.
Okay.
Pedro put a one.
Gary's
There's a hand.
Yeah.
There's a hand raised. Okay.
Can I speak about my new
Sorry,
topic?
1 second, Pedro. 1 second, Pedro.
Yeah.
Gary wants to respond.
Thanks, Guy. The detonation that Israel conducted on that underground capability, I just want to bring up the point that in this quiescent period since the MOU, relative quiescent period since the MOU was executed, it's been a time of observation from satellites orbiting Earth and really focused on Middle East, looking at new infrastructure being created, but also using algorithms to see movements to and from certain areas. So there is a very sophisticated capability, especially if you have access to satellite imagery of that area. The area meaning from Israel east all the way to Pakistan. You can see how selective the targets are when it comes to Israeli sorties, U.S. sorties. So what you saw over the weekend was very much focused on new capabilities that were created on Geshem Island, on Sirak, and then off the coast, along the coast of Bandar Abbas. So I have not seen the video, Cat. I think it must have been a tremendous series of blasts that were conducted. And I would dare say that you're going to see more and more of these as Iran and Oman try to undermine any eventually signed document beyond the MOU. So thank you for that comment, Cat.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. All right.
Now let's go to Pedro.
So, So, as you may know, recently President Donald J. Trump announced that tomorrow Iran requested to have the Doha talks in Qatar. Like, what purpose does the Doha talks will have on the IRGC? Will the talks create more infighting on the RGC hardline base?
So Pedro, I don't know if you know this. I'm Israeli. I'm actually not Iranian, and I don't have a good perception into the inner workings of Iran. So Armin would be able to answer that. This is more of an Israel related discussion group, and areas in this part of the Middle East. You know, Israel and its neighbors, Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria. So you can ask that in Armin's discussion group tonight. I think tonight is also open. I don't remember though.
But guy, you seem to know a lot about the IRGC because you guys have a lot of spies in Iran, which is the Mossad.
Yeah, but I'm not one of them, as far as you know. So, so I would. I mean, this is not public information, so I wouldn't know.
Okay, so but this is a question that you will know. Like, how will Israel disarm Hezbollah in Lebanon? Like, with the Lebanese government, like. I've heard for many people that it will take time to disarm Hezbollah, right?
So Israel, the unfortunate reality is that Israel is incapable of disarming Hezbollah alone. Meaning it is, but it would have to literally conquer all of Lebanon to do so. And so at the end of the day, the solution has to come from within Lebanon. We can weaken Hezbollah until that point, but we can't finish the job because this is an internal Lebanon affair. And so Israel is not capable of doing that. Israel can provide theoretically intelligence and maybe training to the Lebanese army. We had this kind of cooperation with the southern Lebanon army, which was the Christian army in southern Lebanon in the first Lebanese war. But it's still an open question of exactly how would do this. But the answer would have to be by proxy, meaning we're not going to destroy Hezbollah alone. The only way we can actually destroy Hezbollah is by collapsing the regime in Iran and having the Iranian people take back their country. And so Hezbollah is going to die of starvation if that happens, because they're the main point of power that they have is that the Islamic regime leech on Iran is sending them Iranian blood, and in this case, oil money. And so before the war, I think now it's lower, but before the war, the average salary of a Lebanese army soldier was like $300 or $400, and the average salary of a Hezbollah operative was $1,800. So it was like being in Hezbollah was also for some people a necessity in terms of making ends meet because of the horrible situation in Lebanon, because of the infighting, and because of the chokehold that the Shia have over Lebanon because of Hezbollah. It's a bit of a vicious cycle. So those would be the two ways. Either or three, in theory, three ways. One, take over Lebanon. Not ideal. We don't want this. We want peace with Lebanon. And it would also be a lot of fighting and a lot of death. Two, by proxy with strengthening the forces within Lebanon. Three, collapsing the Islamic regime. Joanne is saying the regime really messed up the world, didn't they? Yes, they did.
Okay, Cat Lady wants to respond.
Yeah, yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, you said maybe like train them or give them intel. So By the way, this is my new mic. Hi, I changed.
It's better.
Uh, yeah, thank you. So I'm not sure that's a good idea because about intelligence, it's a known thing that even the Lebanese admit that their army is kind of infiltrated by Hezbollah members. So that would be maybe in the future, not now. And yeah, the army that was like the Tzadal, you meant the so that
Yeah.
was, I think, very different. Those are
It was.
different people,
It was
and
just Christians.
yeah, and some of them actually moved into Israel when the war was like sadly abandoned, and um what was I saying? And also, you cannot actually give anything more to the Lebanese army. They are actually funded by the U.S. and by the Europeans as well. Like they are drowning in money for basically for years. So I think the main thing that allowed it to happen right now, to be honest, is that we have managed to weaken Hezbollah significantly. Nothing besides that would have helped. And that's a very good thing. It's really, really encouraging to see because we've been fighting them for years and they're always telling us, yeah, we weaken them, we weaken them. And now you see it, so it's great. It's great. Yeah. But it will
So
be hard. It can be a civil war. It can be, I don't know, it can be hard.
yeah, it might. So that's the fear in Lebanon, that it might deteriorate to a civil war between the Shia and the Christians, and the Sunnis to a lesser extent, but the Sunnis would take the Christian side at this point.
Yeah.
I don't agree about the Lebanese army might be well funded. It's not well funded enough. It could definitely use more either budgets or a better way to or like a an oversight mechanism where the budget's distribution is looked at. I don't know what the exact budget is. I know that at the end of the day, a soldier's salary, like someone for whom this is their full-time job, was like $300 or $400 a month, which is nothing. And so they could use more funding as well.
Okay, I don't think I have anyone else on the list.
Okay, so I saw that Kurt wanted to had a question. He didn't put a 1 in the chat, but the question was, in Israel, what is the difference between Arab and Muslim? So Danny sort of responded to that a bit in the chat. Arab is an ethnicity. Most of the Arabs in Israel are Muslim, but some of them are Christian. And actually, there is it used to be the case that they all hated Israel. Now there's more and more, especially on the Christian side, that are starting to come out openly being for sorry, for Israel. The biggest examples would be Yusuf Haddad, who is a Christian Arab who Israeli who served in the IDF. He's very proud of being Israeli, and he would he goes around all over the world doing hasbara, meaning explaining Israel's side and convincing Israel to be on convincing people to be on Israel's side. His fiance is Emily Schrader, who's well known along these parts as being being very active on the Iran front. Is that like Dawa? No, because he's not lying. He's not trying to convince people with half truths and stuff like that. He explains the situation. Hasbara is not, people like, oh, he's doing Hasbara. Like Hasbara is literally just explaining the situation. That's what literally the meaning of the word Hasbara is explanation. And whereas Dawa usually is using half truth and stuff like that, and to convince people to join Islam, and also, as people are pointing out in the chat, he's not Muslim. He's Christian. Okay, so there was another one in the chat, right, by Samantha. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to say it yourself? Please read. Okay. Thoughts on volunteering on a kibbutz? Would you recommend I try living and volunteering on a kibbutz after I graduate before making aliyah? What advice would you give to a secular American Jewish woman considering looking into volunteering and living on a kibbutz? I'm not the person to ask this. I don't know enough about. I know a little bit, but not enough about volunteering in a kibbutz. I think it would be good for you. It would give you a framework to be in with mostly like-minded people. And also give you a sense of a communal living. Just make sure, because a lot of the kibbutzim have already privatized, meaning that they're no longer as much of a commune as they were. So look into a bunch of them and find one that you actually jive with, that you wouldn't feel disappointed by. They're actually not really doing the kibbutz thing. There aren't many left that are doing the true kibbutz thing. Because it's unsustainable economically, but that's aside. But try finding ones that actually that you actually see what they're doing, understand what you're getting into, and want to support, which wouldn't necessarily be all of them. Okay, good. Amir in the chat is saying, I won't believe the deal until I see Lebanon doing their part. It's not the point of the deal isn't we assume that it's going to work out. We assume it's not going to work out. That's the prevailing assumption. But the deal is such that we didn't have to unfreeze funds or open up blockades or something before anything was done. Just as hypothetical examples. The deal is such that we're going to let them take over places that either we haven't completely put a foothold in already, or have a tiny foothold in, but they're not important, as a pilot to see if they manage to keep them in check. So there's no downside other than time that we're not spending advancing, which under the current MOU with the regime in Iran, we wouldn't be able to do anyway. And if it collapses, the agreement says explicitly, Israel will stay, and this is Lebanon giving us this. The Lebanese government is giving us this. Is like saying, we're both against Hezbollah being an armed group. Israel, the Lebanese government, allow Israel to stay in southern Lebanon as long as it takes until such a time that Hezbollah is removed from power. This is a huge diplomatic achievement. Okay, good. So, moving on from the Lebanon topic, I wish Nare was here for this. So, Israel just recognized the Armenian genocide, which is also a huge development. So, this already we are seeing some dissatisfaction from Azerbaijan. I don't think it's critical. I think it's for appearances. That's my current perspective. I've heard people in Israel say, and I think this is a ridiculous claim to make, that Gideon Sa'ar, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is doing this to be able to say to people, "Oh, I'm such a man. I'm look at me sticking to Erdogan," and like for the base, and losing the strategic partnership with Azerbaijan as a result. And I think that's a fundamentally unserious comment to make. What I think, so Kat is saying that's against Turkey. I actually disagree. I mean, it's partly against Turkey, but I think it's way more for Armenia. So Armenia just had an election, and the results was a party or people. I don't know exactly how their internal politics work, and that's why I wish Nara was here. But the result was a shift from a pro-Russian perspective to a pro-Western perspective. And I think that as far as part of the efforts by the US to switch Armenia to their side, the Armenian government had to say, listen, you have to acknowledge the genocide if we are to continue. We have to have something, some sort of even a symbolic thing, so that we can show people that we can trust you and we can move to your to your side. And the US can't do that at the moment. They're very unfortunately interlocked with Turkey. They have a lot of interests that they need Turkey on their side for. So the US can't recognize the Armenian genocide, but Israel can. Israel can, because Israel is not quite as afraid of losing its current standing with Turkey. If you know what I mean. Like, it's not, oh no, Turkey will not like us. Now the issue is Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan is fundamentally made up of Turks, and they also are against. They think it's more complicated and so on. They put out a statement, and that statement to me read as like, we're against this. We hope they change their mind. It didn't look like a, breaking everything, like, what are you doing? So what I think happened, the US, specifically Rubio, has been in touch with both Armenia and Azerbaijan recently, very ardently and very there have been a lot of talks, and they also recently had a peace agreement. I think that below the table, there was an agreement that, listen, you do this, Israel will recognize the genocide. Azerbaijan, like, you can raise a stink about it, but fundamentally we're all okay with this happening. And they put everything together so that Armenia can move from the IRGC and regime side to the West. Because before that, we don't know that it happened, but it's very likely that it could have happened, that Russia would have been able to smuggle things into Iran through Armenia. And a shift by Armenia would be very good for us strategically. So we talked about Iraq becoming anti-IRGC, and Lebanon now, they're losing their proxies. Armenia is, I think, part of that. It's isolating the regime in a very useful way. So that's the second topic I had in mind. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say about that? Agree, disagree, thoughts? Gary?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm having audio problems this morning. Yeah, Guy, thanks for letting me speak. And Kat, I think this will touch on you somewhat, what you were asking. So we're coming up on a year since the signing of the Israel-India economic alliance, and it's more than just economic. It's also defense and a number of other.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you look at India, the relationships it has, and this will get back to the Armenia thing very quickly, because it deals with nations on both sides of the Caspian Sea. So India has relations so that through Kashmir, it can utilize the panhandle of Afghanistan, which kind of goes from Afghanistan to China. And India has permissions from Afghanistan to use that for land movement as well as overflights. And that then leads them to Tajikistan, and then Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, the Caspian Sea, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and northern Iraq, Kurdistan. So this is kind of an arc of cooperation that is in evolution for quite some time now, which will benefit Israel in terms of making it militarily, armament-wise, able to build whatever it needs to build without relying on Europe or the United States. So, as you rightly pointed out, Guy, the election in Armenia was a very, very strong positive from a Western-facing point of view. Russia would like to, like with Georgia, would like to break Armenia away from the West, but this now helps to cement a potential going forward between Israel and Armenia. There are a number of things internal to Israel that you may be aware of with the Christian church, particularly in Jerusalem, that have been sticking points. And this is a very important goodwill statement by Israel's government. I do want to correct you, though, that President Biden, we're coming up on 5 years since August 2021, when the United States did publicly recognize the Armenian genocide. That was President Biden who did that. Yeah, no, that's okay. Most people have no idea about that. So this whole arc from Israel to India, you know, it has a long way to go. But remember that the alliance here between Israel, Christians, and Hindus, there is an alliance where there's a trilateral distrust of Islam that is gradually building. I can say here in the United States, there are a number of American, Israeli, and American Jewish and Hindu alliances that are building great infrastructure. And this does include Armenians, Christian Armenians. I can say that because I happen to be an instructor on the Armenian genocide at a local college. There is a very, very strongly accreting bond that is as a trilateral bloc against Islam penetrating any further than it has. So Armenia, very, very important to Israel. Armenia and Azerbaijan, through the TRIP agreement that the U.S. negotiated, they are indeed making progress. Yes, there are very significant differences between Azerbaijan and Armenia, but there is progress that has been made.
Okay, thank you. That's very informative.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any statements, questions, things they'd like to say?
Can I add one last thing, Guy?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Kat was asking about Iraq, and you all may be aware of the rather urgent party from Iran that went to Baghdad over the past 72 hours. There are a number of aspects to that, Kat, most of which we have no idea, but we do know that with the last election within Iraq, there was commitment to moving the IRGC aligned Iraqi militias into a more neutral and defanged posture. So, Kat, that's really what this was all about this past weekend. Iran is desperately seeking allies adjacent to it.
And also, it's
Can I just ask about the Iraqi thing? So the morning after that it happened, Arakchi came to visit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it was a pre-planned visit, though. I heard it before.
I
heard about it. No, seriously, I heard about it before it happened.
I saw within IRGC, maybe.
Well, that's because you're in the Mossad. You know, the rest of us.
No. It was seriously, it was like the day before. It was in groups that Arakchi is supposed to be visiting tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's very, very short planning, 24 hours. for an IRGC official to go into Baghdad. Remember, the U.S. monitors every visit within the green zone. So,
No,
yeah, that's very short-term notice.
no, my point is that it happened very close to this, like, coup that happened or whatever. It wasn't a coup, but I don't think it was because of that. Like, it was planned from a little bit before, or someone knew. I don't know.
Yeah,
For
there's
what
a
it's
lot
worth,
of propaganda that
confirms
goes
it, you're
on.
Mossad. So Kurt is
What again?
literally confirming. For what it's worth, Kurt is literally confirming in the chat that you're Mossad. So
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I'm the cat unit. Yes.
Yeah, and remember that, Kat, that there's a lot, half of, now, I can't give a percentage, but a lot of what the IRGC says is propaganda to create agitation in the West. And since most of us living in the West, and I include Israel in the West, since we're all easily irritated, they're very successful.
And also to add to what Gary said, this is further. A couple of weeks ago, they also outlawed El Hashd Shabi from being able to the People's Front from being able to be an armed group. That's the largest militia that was sent into Iran to stop the protesters in January, and again towards the end of the war right now. So a lot of really good things are happening in Iraq from our perspective.
So is it possible to say that because I know that Trump or his government did a lot of pressure in Iraq for the last couple of months, which led to this
Yes.
disarmament or like absorbing those into the army? And is it also something that can be seen along the lines of these? Because even when they said, like they declared after they did that, they said something about backed by America, which was surprising. I can't remember exactly.
So Israel, sorry, not Israel. The U.S. has very much applied a lot of pressure to make sure that the current prime minister is who the current prime minister is, and not someone who's more pro the regime. And this is very much the result of American pressure, all of it.
Great.
It was overt American pressure, like Trump truthed about this constantly.
And I see, I don't know, maybe I'm not looking in enough places, but from what I see a little bit, I see support for this in like Iraqi people. I don't know.
Iraq is fractured, so it's.
So yeah, I know, but that's why I'm
almost-
saying maybe I'm just looked at some specific places, so maybe it's not.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's more like to me. I would attribute it to selection bias more than anything, because we don't have a lot of data. But Gary had more to say.
Yeah, so along that line, as you pointed out, Guy, Iraq is really three countries, and one of the alternative pathways to the flow of oil and natural gas, other than through the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz, would be from Saudi Arabia through Iraq. Up toward potentially Syria or Turkey, and that presents a way to defang the IRGC revenue stream. And so part of why the president of the United States did pressure Iraq to have a prime minister who was not going to be aligned with Iran was to try to get the Sunnis and the Kurds and the Shia and the Kurds to support the integrity of that pipeline going through Iraq. That was a very strategic move by the president. And so far, that does seem to be gaining traction within the Iranian people, because that's a genuine economic boom as
You mean
opposed to
Iraqi
a
people?
corruption. The Iraqi people, yes. Those are the reports that we've received, is that this would create a genuine economy. Iraq, even since the liberation from Saddam Hussein, has not maximized its oil revenues. This could turn it into a greater powerhouse if the Sunni and Shia agree to protect the Kurdish oil fields and to protect that pipeline jointly as a trilateral country. A lot of complexity, but Iraq, 20 years later, it's finally moving in a better direction.
Yep. By the way, Gary, your
Thank
audio
you.
was doubled for some reason. I don't know what happened there, but try to fix it.
Okay.
And also to add to that, so Kurt, this should answer your question. Kurt asked in the chat, why would U.S. apply this pressure? There are several reasons why you want Iraq to switch from being pro regime to pro Western. Not the least of which the broader project of which IMEC, the IMEK, is part, which is the pipelines to transfer energy and goods from Asia to Europe by land, so that you don't need the sea routes. And Iraq is positioned very well for that. Now, if Iran is liberated, that's fantastic. That takes care of most problems that we have right now. One of which, like, it also improves the that corridor. But yeah. Okay, good. So those were two topics that I have. The third is Prime Minister Netanyahu's trial. So he has several ongoing cases. I won't get into the whole list. The important thing to talk about is that today he had just finished the defense part, and this was after the prosecution made its case. The judges said to the prosecution, listen, you have to drop the bribery charge. It's not going to stick. The case you've presented is not enough to warrant bribery charges. So Roman Viking is asking, have there been any serious crimes? We'll find out. So far, I'm leaning no. People, there's disagreements over this, though. This is one of the things that people here disagree on. But so far, the way the trials are going, it looks like the answer is no. So after the prosecution finished presenting its case, the judges said, listen, you should drop the bribery charge. It's not going to stick. And the prosecution said, oh no, we plan for it to be established in the defense. So we just finished making our case. The defense is going to make its case. Yes, Danny is right. Danny's reaction is exactly the right reaction for this. And Kurt is saying in the chat, best thing about bribery is there are no receipts. If there are no receipts, then you don't put someone on trial for bribery if you don't actually have the case to make to say that they committed bribery. So Danny is befuddled. I'll explain Danny's befuddlement. The defense, the prosecution makes its case, and then the defense's case is, yeah, Danny is confirming he's befuddled. The defense's case is to weaken and counter and debunk the prosecution's case. So if the prosecution was not able to establish, which it was not based on what the court is saying, bribery, then it's not going to be it's very obviously not going to be proven in the defense's like through cross-examination of the defense. That's a very weak reason to keep it on. The real reason, some would say, I used to not think this. I'm starting to lean towards this. Is to keep the trial going, to keep Netanyahu tied up in court, and to weaken him politically. There are reasons to think that this, at least parts of it, were an attempted political. I don't want to say assassination. Like that's the word we would use in Hebrew, but I don't think it's too strong. But like trying to make Netanyahu quit. And it didn't work. They didn't actually expect it to arrive at court. Now, what I'm saying now, for the record, is controversial. I did not used to hold this opinion. I hold this opinion now. And so the update is that the court, so the defense finally finished after many hours. Character assassination. Thank you, Samantha. Yes. After many hours, it was a very long defense. And now the court said to the prosecution again, listen, you have to drop the bribery charge. It's not going to stick. So they just did it again today. And this is a very interesting development as far as the continuation of the trial and what's going to happen with it. And also how it will affect everything moving forward in terms of what kind of governments we'll be able to form and so on. Because if... Okay, Gary had to leave. I wanted to say goodbye, but he already left. If this is probably the strongest charge, or the most severe charge, not the strongest in the sense of it has a good chance of sticking, but it's the strongest in terms of the strictest, the severest charge against Netanyahu. And so if this one doesn't stick, then a lot of the brouhaha is going to fall away, and there will be less excuses not to join a coalition by that is led by Netanyahu, or that includes Netanyahu. And this would lead me to my next topic. But first, does anyone have anything they would like to ask, clarify, and so on this topic? And by the way, people in the chat, like I would be reading super chats. If you would post super chats, I would read them. This is, I know Armin's not here, but I'm just as capable of reading super chats.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Danny.
So Netanyahu likes to say that he's been waiting 8 years to go on trial, and that they've just been dragging these cases on. Is there truth to these claims?
It's hard to say. He has also made moves to postpone things. And so if you're against Netanyahu, you would say, well, he's trying to drag out the trial so that he wouldn't reach the end, and then he would be able to overhaul the judiciary and put judges that he likes there, who would then sorry, I was just reading Samantha's comments, and they're biased, let's say. Like that's the case being made, but it's not. It's very far from being established, any of it. Okay, so, but he has made moves to postpone. He has made moves to postpone the trial, and they say it's so that he can change the judiciary and then have judges that he likes who would then quit him. And like that's the anti-Netanyahu side, or the most anti-Netanyahu argument, like the most Netanyahu's the devil argument. The other side would be, listen, he has a country to run. So Sketch is asking who would then acquit him. Yes, the point is that he would have I think there might be a bit of a delay. The argument is he has a country to run, and by the way, we're in the middle of a war for almost 3 years. Now, it could be both. I mean, it could also benefit from the trial being prolonged, because actually electorally, he managed to convince a lot of people that he's being persecuted when he's prosecuted. That this is a character assassination, and that they're going after him because he represents the right, and they can't have the right. They can't have the right in control, and so he's actually making. In some ways, it's beneficial to him politically at this point. So both could be true. Even if he's not actually guilty and trying to postpone the trial. Bomber of Doom asking, so why isn't he Zelenskying if there's war? That it's not that every so Zelenskying would be postponing elections, like not having elections because you're in the state of war. This is part of the Ukrainian constitution. It's not part of Israel's constitution. Israel doesn't have a constitution, but this is not. It's not every country at war would not have an election, and in Israel, you very much would have an election during war. Danny.
Oh, I was going to argue about how you could possibly get favorable judges when the government doesn't get to appoint judges. But I guess the point you're making is that maybe he's hoping that judicial reform would go through, and that's how he would get more favorable judges.
Yeah, that was the point. That he's on trial and he's making judicial reforms. That was the.
Okay. Well, one other thing I'll say is that he has been unsuccessful in at all postponing this trial, like this whole time during the war, right? They've been prosecuted him I don't know how many days per week, how many hours per day, the whole time, and making the case that if he can't both do the trial and manage the country, then he has to resign or something like that. So I think it's not really. He couldn't have possibly delayed it, is my point. Even if you want.
So the idea was he's not there constantly. He's there like 2 times a week or 3 times a week, and that's as a result of asking to have less time. If we were not at war, then theoretically would have needed to go more. So he has lowered the amount of time, and also certain days, like he says, listen, I have to finish early, have an important geopolitical thing or an important security thing. But so that has happened. And we have a super chat. Historically, during war, the people in power retain it. Is that the same in Israel? No, because Israel is almost always at war. Sorry, let me show the super chat. 99 no FX. Thank you. And so, no, this is not the same in Israel, because Israel, since its founding, has been in almost a consistent state of war. So 2 more other comments. Sketch, no constitution, oy vey, and Morgrove. I didn't know that Israel doesn't have a constitution. Why is that? I actually did a very lengthy live stream with Armin on this topic. You can go to my channel. It's the one about judicial reform. If you're interested, there's a lot of answers there. If you still have questions afterwards, we can talk about them some other time. Okay, good. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic of Netanyahu's trial? Oh, someone asked what he is on trial about. It would take too long. So it's 3 different trials. It would take too long to explain now. You're doing a great job, Guy. Thank you. Okay, so that was Sketch. So Sketch asked, what are the cases about? Lawfare. And I haven't explained what the cases are about because it would take a while to explain. We might, at some point, I'll do a live stream with Armin going over the cases in depth. Okay. We have, so Shlomo Ishtov is saying we have basic laws which are a proto-constitution. Eventually they're supposed to be put together as a constitution. Their current state is as being a proto-constitution and having constitution-like powers is in question. Like this is one of the things that is being argued with regards to judicial power. We have went through all of this in the live stream that I'm talking about. I highly recommend watching it. Samantha is asking in the chat, we have a Declaration of Independence. A Declaration of Independence does not give you concrete articles for how to operate, and it's not a legal document that the court can work off of. Now, the court argues, the activists in court argue that barring anything else, we don't have anything else to work off of. We don't have a constitution. We pretty much have to go off of the Declaration of Independence. And I have some sympathy to that argument, but ultimately, the Declaration of Independence is not a legal argument, and it's not up to the judges to infer from the Declaration of Independence practical policy. You can infer it, you can interpret it in many different ways. And so the court, the judges just interpret it based off of what they think, like what they want to happen. So it's too much power to just use the Declaration of Independence as a legally binding document. Danny is asking, this is something that got invented in the 90s, like Aaron Barak just invented this idea. More or less. So what Aaron Barak did was made the basic laws that I mentioned earlier more binding. That's the main thing that he did. And the Declaration of Independence, I think, mostly got brought up now in the current legal debacle because of an unclear level of authority. I don't think it happened earlier, but it could be wrong. Okay. Yes, Danny. Danny has a one in the chat.
So, my understanding of the case about Walla is that Bibi is alleged to have given them more exposure or something, and in exchange they're supposed to cover him more favorably.
So it wasn't exposure. It was the owner of Walla wanted to buy another communications company, and that was approved by by someone he put there to do it. And then there's a question of whether he told him to do it or whether it was like, because it's arguably also just a good idea for reasons I won't get into now. Like it's a legitimate move to be made. The issue was, oh well, he got positive coverage as a result. So yeah, so I just wanted to correct that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I misremembered it. Thank you. So the thing about it that doesn't make sense to me is how's this even a thing that would make sense to do when you have other newspapers that give positive coverage? Wouldn't you want to empower people who cover you positively instead of empowering people who cover you negatively in hopes that they will then decide to cover you less negative?
So the idea was if I can switch Walla, like this is a pretty powerful person, all things considered. If I can switch Walla to be on my side, to be more favorable, that's a great thing for me. Like that would be the argument. If you can take a whole website and switch it to be on your side, that wasn't already on your side, by someone who's powerful, so you can't weaken the website without making some very, very overt moves, then if you can do it, there is a lot of upside to it. The problem is that there wasn't any positive coverage. Like this was always an anti-Netanyahu website. It remained an anti-Netanyahu website. And so if there was a quid pro quo, where's the quo? And so you're inferring a bribe that didn't end up manifesting. It's like, it's not, there's no, like, what is this? Okay. Okay, good. Any other, Danny, did I answer your question?
Yes, so I guess I was right that the case is stupid, but I was wrong about the reason why it's stupid.
Yes. Okay, so I have two more topics. I'll probably go have a little break in like 15 minutes. So because I have another live with Armin in 45 minutes. Wait, this is about bribing a website. So what did you Doubt is asking, wait, this is about bribing a website? It's about bribing the owner, a millionaire owner of, among other things, who among other things owns a media website. Yes, a news website. So the bribery charge is really about a thought crime. No, I mean if you can show that something actually happened, then sure. I mean it's not, you're not supposed to give someone a lucrative business deal in exchange for positive coverage as a prime minister. I mean that would be bad. It just seems to not be what happened or what is demonstrable. Okay. All right. So the next topic is and I'm really happy about this, the discussions that are picking up about a unity government in Israel, which is what I'm for at this point. Neither side has a good coalition. The center left has to form a government with Arab parties who for whom putting Israel as a first priority is in question. Even the party of Ram, whose leader made some important strides towards being someone you can theoretically work with. I am in favor of working with him and making like Minister of Arab Affairs or something like that, with budgets to improve the conditions of Arabs in Israel society. You can't do it if he also has the government by the balls. He, like, if he himself can make a choice that the government falls, then he has too much power. So Sketch is asking about the previous point. Did he do it himself or as accountant without asking? Like the 34 counts of a thing someone else did that Trump had to face. So there's a question of whether this was a move made by Netanyahu or by someone under him called Shlomo Filbel. But it was a legitimate, business. There were legitimate reasons to do it. And if there are legitimate reasons to do it, and you can prove that there was a quid pro quo, then why is this a bribe charge? So Shlomo is saying, okay, so the center left can make a government with the Arab parties. Israel Beitenu won't sit with them. This is true, and that's why I think it's not going to happen. So that's on the left wing side. You have that as a problem, and in my mind, also the party called the Democrats, which is the staunchly left wing party in Israel, over the last 3 years since judicial reform, has been on a little bit of I don't want to say power trip, but they think that they're allowed to do things in a democracy that they're not allowed to do, because in their mind, we're saving democracy because they're trying to trample our democracy by doing judicial reform, and they're trying to take over, and we can't be nice anymore. This is existential. We have to do whatever it takes. And to those of us who don't think this is existential, we think, well, what you're doing is insane. And so I'm not a huge fan of them being in the government. Now, if there's a unity government, they would not join. They would not sit under Netanyahu under any circumstances, or even with Netanyahu. So those are the problems of the center left, and the right has the problem of Ben Gvir that no one really wants to sit with. He's not a reasonable partner, both in terms of he had a picture of a Jewish terrorist who killed many Muslims in the Cave of the Patriarchs, sitting over his mantle, and also because he's a pyromancer, a political pyromancer. He doesn't care about the consequences of what he does, and he just likes to rile up this base. Look at how hawkish I am. Before I continue,
about the Democrats, I think you should explain that the Israeli left has invented some different concept of democracy that is foreign to people in the rest of the world that use that word.
So that would take a long time to explain. I don't have time for it now. because I have to go soon. I want to get through at least this topic. So Morgrove is asking, is left wing in Israel quite different to left wing in the US, UK, etc.? I don't know anything about Israel government. So the left wing in Israel is not, we don't, most of us are communists or Arabs, and they're part of the Arab parties. We have some Jews there as well in the Communist Party. It's called Hadash. In Israel, but it's mainly an Arab party that has some Jewish elements. The so Israel doesn't go as far left as most countries in the West. In general, in Israeli politics is like to the right. Well, okay, the camera was reversed, but to the right of most other countries. Israel, on average, is more right wing than most other countries in the West. Okay. See if there's anything else here before I continue. Bomber of Doom is asking, isn't Bibi right wing? Didn't he change the judicial system? Bibi is right wing. Bibi tried to change the judicial system. The question is whether that change to the judicial system is the end of democracy. And also the left wing is very, so this is a true statement. Jodo VN is saying, because Israel has changed, it has moved to the right to such an extent that left-wing politicians pin their hopes on convincing their potential voters that they're actually on the right. I don't think that that's the case. I think that they're trying to. I mean, you could maybe argue that about Gadi Eisenkot, but in general, I think they would try to convince them they're on the center, and that they wouldn't create a Palestinian state. I think that's a very unpopular position right now, and that's the hallmark of the left. It's actually not economics. In Israel, you have a lot of left-wing economics in places like Likud, which is supposed to be the right-wing liberal party. Liberal not in the United States sense, liberal in the rest of the world sense. 99 NoFX is asking, what is a Zionist? A Zionist is a person who thinks that the Jews have a right to live in their ancestral homeland of Israel as part of a Jewish state.
What's a Jewish state?
A Jewish state is a state that has Jewish hallmarks in its like symbolism. So we have the Star of David on the flag. It's the majority of the citizens arguably should be Jewish. It should venerate Jewish culture. And it should it doesn't, first of all, what it doesn't mean is no equal rights to minorities. And minorities in Israel have equal rights. We had an Arab Supreme Court justice put the president of Israel away in prison for charges. So okay. So back to what I was saying. So the left wing has the problems it has. The right wing has the problem of Ben Gvir and the ultra orthodox who are trying to avoid being drafted to the army, which after October 7th and the hundreds of days many people, myself included, have done of reserve duty, it's just not going to fly anymore. People are not going to accept that the next government will keep being taken hostage by the ultra orthodox. So those are the problems of the right wing, and as a result, there's a party that's likely about to be formed that I'm likely going to vote for at this point, which is like a center-right party that is saying we want to what we need is a unity government. That's what we need at this point, and we're going to force a unity government. And the stronger they are, the more they'll be able to force it after the election. We're going to force the center, the center and the center right and the Likud to form a government together. And Netanyahu yesterday came out and said that he's for a wide-ranging nationalist government. Nationalists being essentially right-wing. But what he's saying is, I want everyone to join. We're done with boycotts, and I want to form a wide government with these under this framework. And he mentioned the specific articles that would have to be part of the government. And now it's a political stunt because he's not the one boycotting the other side. The other side is boycotting him. But and the framework you put together is essentially going to be a right-wing government. I mean, you could have other people join it, but what this looks like is more of a spin. But what this says is that he recognizes that there's a hunger right now for unity messaging and unity government. So I think that's a very positive development from where I'm standing, which again, I'm in the camp that's for a unity government after this election. We can't have Ben Gvir be a minister again. We can't have the other side take control. Like the Democrats, the party of the Democrats is saying we're going to shut down media channels because they're too pro Netanyahu. And like they're not real media channels, but at the same time, like it's not up to you to decide what is and isn't allowed to, what speech is and isn't allowed on the in the country. So I can't endorse either of those extremes. I am more sympathetic to the Democrats because they genuinely feel like the country's been taken from them and is like held hostage, and people are trying to change Israeli democracy and so on. So I can at least understand that, but seeing that as I don't think it's true at all, the reaction is an overreaction. Okay, and there was a 2 in the chat. So
Rebecca,
Danny, you're
2?
second, right? There's one before you.
Yes, Rebecca put a 2 first.
Okay, Rebecca.
It's not something I can do. But like my main issues would be the Haredim draft, getting off American aid for arms and making our own, and not having no to a two-state solution. But I also think the Supreme Court has too much power. Is there any party or where would I sit politically, and what party would most represent most of the things that I would be looking for?
So state your positions again.
So I mean, I want the Haredim to not be able to avoid the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I want Israel to get off American aid and for us to make our own weapons, because I don't think America's always going to be in the future. They're not going to be favorable to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm against a two-state solution, and I think that the Supreme Court has too much power.
You're against the two-state solution or for the two-state solution?
No, against.
Okay. The MOU from between Israel and America, being reliant on America, that's going to be taken care of before the election, so you don't have to worry about that as a political angle. Netanyahu is already working with the Americans to change it. He also agrees with this. Lapid actually came out yesterday and said, no, we need the MOU. And I was like, no, I didn't actually think a politician would actually say that at this point. So that's not an issue. So you're against a Palestinian state. You're for drafting the ultra-Orthodox, and you want judicial reform. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you can go with Lieberman. I don't know enough about his position on judicial reform. It was a bit wishy-washy. It also depends on what judicial reform, because there's like a lot of ways to do it. And the party I would vote for is likely going to be all of those things. It's not there yet. It hasn't been announced yet, but it's going to be. It's going to be like former people from the Likud who want a government without the ultra-Orthodox, without the Arabs. And I don't know what their position on judicial reform is going to be. But I assume it's going to be something like, we need something a bit tamer than what was suggested, but we do need judicial reform. Something along those lines, presumably. So I would say either Lieberman or that. Lieberman being Israel Beitenu. That's the name of the party.
Can you write that somewhere? The name of the party? Is that in the
Israel. Okay, good. Danny wrote it. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
We have a super chat. Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead and then we'll do the super chat.
Please, Beitenu.
Israel Beitenu.
Thank you.
It means Israel at home. My question was, when you said you want the unity government, you mean between who?
So Likud, this new party, Israel Beitenu, Beyachad, which is the Bennett party, Bennett Lapid party, and Eisenkot, and the Yashar party.
And hopefully we won't need Bennett Lapid, but we'll see. Okay, go to your super chat.
Okay. So 99 no FX is asking, does Judaism allow non-Jews to marry Jews? In general, I think this is true for Christianity. I'm pretty sure it's I'll be shocked if this is not the case with Christianity and Islam as well. You're not supposed to marry outside of the religion. That said, many Jews, Israel allows people to marry, even if they're not, even if one of them is not Jewish. Like non-Jews, obviously. So different religious minorities have their own religious entities. So there's like a Qadi for Muslims, and so on. But in Israel allows people to marry, like, or recognizes marriage between people where one of them is not Jewish. It's not according to the halakha, to Jewish law, but it's allowed. But no, so to answer your question, if a non-Jew wants to marry a Jew, Judaism would expect the non-Jew to convert to Judaism. And so it wouldn't recognize the marriage as properly Jewish otherwise. That said, if it's the woman who's Jewish, then the children of that marriage will be considered 100% Jewish.
Regardless of whether the marriage is Jewish, right?
I like chat comments. Okay, so Bomber is saying, I like chat comments. They really teach you a lot about what people feel. Guy gives facts, which is nice, but engaging with opinions is greater. So I try to give mostly the facts and then like say what each side thinks. I also give my own opinion, but I do really try to separate it. But yeah, the point is that you'll see a lot of different, very strong opinions in the chat in these discussions. Sketch is saying our aid is a 15% discount. I think it does more harm than good politically. It's less than a learning center of money and cause too many misconceptions about Israel. It's a weapon anti-Zionists use and exaggerate. I completely agree with this. That's why we're going off of the MOU. It's less than 3% of our yearly GDP. So it's like, okay, it hurts to get off of it, but it's not we'll manage. Like, people think that US is propping us up and holding us together, and at the same time that we're putting so much money into affecting US politics in ways that are actually, if that was true, would be way beyond what the US is giving Israel, so it would really make sense. But yeah, that's why we're moving off of the MOU into a joint R&D solution.
Okay, Guy, do you have to go? A reminder about time?
Yeah, so I should go now. I'll quickly go through the rest of the chat to see if I haven't missed anything. Shlomo saying Guy does a good job of staying neutral. Thank you. Shlomo, that's I'm trying to do that. That's the point. I could give bombastic opinions, but I really want to give people the lay of the land of what Israel is like and what all sides think. Lieberman was pro-reform, but since the deep state caught him in his throat and put many of his party colleagues inside in his last, including his last deputy of the party, Tatiana, in jail, he's very quiet about it. I don't know about that. That's a lot of inference there. I think a lot of people who were pro-reform before the reform, but were on the opposition, saw the backlash and really emphasized like why they're against this specific reform, which there's a lot of reason to be against the specific reform that was put out, for the record. Even if you're pro-reform, you don't have to be pro this reform. Yes, okay. So Danny, thank you so much for moderating. You've been a great help. I will be leaving now because I have a date with Armin in 25 minutes. So goodbye, everyone. Oh, before I go, before I go, again, I'm putting my YouTube channel in the chat. Please subscribe. I will be making also videos about Israel that are not part of Liberty Politics. So there's a good reason to join. And also, like some of it, for example, would be debunking lies about Israel and so on. And a lot of like in-depth dives, maybe history, some stuff like that. So we'll see. There's a lot in the pipe. We'll see when I'll be able to do it. But yeah, I'd highly appreciate a subscription. Also, like the stream on both channels. Yeah, and I'll see you. I'll probably see most of you in like 25 minutes with Armin. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, guys.